Welcome to the Nursery Worker Training Day at your local church. There's nothing quite like being the starting point in a person's spiritual development, and in so many ways the nursery is just that. Because the ministry to young children and their parents is so important, we have created several dedicated training videos for you and your church nursery workers. Make sure you catch all the sessions and pass on the links to your workers and new recruits. Now let's get started.
All right. Hey, welcome aboard. This is Mike Holmes at ReachKeep.com, and we're doing some nursery training. Today we're covering kind of topic number 2, what we call what is the win? In other words, what is the main primary purpose of a nursery? Now, many times we think of a nursery as just, kind of a babysitting service and a time where someone's holding the kids so parents can go to the church service. And I do believe some great value is there. And we do believe that you really are, in a way, kind of creating this place in an auditorium where parents can go and sit and hear and hear the sermon, or you're watching their kids during some other type of event that your church has. So there's some great value to that. One of our primary wins that we have at our church and that we train our people is that we would move beyond just like being a babysitter, and that we would actually be doing some different things. And I want to share with you several different things that we're going to kind of go over. What is our real win? In our training, our nursery is covered under what we call our kid min, or a kid ministry area. And I want to just share a couple of the thoughts that we have developed here through the kid ministry. So let me hit this, make this here so you can see this a little bit bigger. This is the idea that our children are going to be growing up so fast, from 0 to 18, boom, in a blink of an eye, they're going to be moving on. And if we don't really know what we're training on, it's hard to really get people to follow you if you don't know what you're doing, okay? So here's this question that we like to ask is, what is a win, and how do we get there? So with all our different portions of our church, what is the win? What is that, and what is the process of the path or the trail to get there? And we want you as a nursery worker, whether you're watching this as a worker or watching this as a leader, to really know what is the kind of the big thing. When people walk out and they give you the high five, like, oh, what a great day. Oh man, that was so cool. What just happened? I mean, what was it that just happened? We love to kind of analyze some of that. And so we're going to cover a couple of those things. In our nursery, we call our nursery the jungle, okay? And it's kind of jungly looking place in there. We have several things, and I want to put these on the screen for you just so you can see these. Here's the very first one. Our goal is really to have what we call this meaningful conversation with a young mom or a young dad. It's where they would come, and there would be some discussion that goes on between the worker and that. And there's a bonding in some way between people that hold babies and other people that hold babies. I mean, there's just sort of something there. As a pastor, as a main preacher, I mean, I have other bonding with people too as we pray and they respond to the service. But as a nursery worker, you have something special that no one else has, and that is that you hold their child. You hold that precious little thing that they have carried in their womb and now have delivered, and you get to hold that baby. And if it's even a 2-year-old, you get to kind of have them on your knee and bounce them there and play with them and do some stuff. And there's just a special thing that goes on there. And in all that specialness, you have a way of connecting in a conversational manner that the rest of the church just doesn't have the opportunity to do. And we want you to minister at that level. We want you to have a conversation. So how does all that happen? Well, here's what we wrote down. The leadership will seek for and rejoice in those face-to-face moments. And this is the idea of seeking for that. You're looking for that. It's not just like, oh, I'm on nursery duty again this week. It's workers wanna, we call it. They want to be involved. Workers want to be there. You want to have a conversation. You want to be there. If you want to be off somewhere else, that sends a terrible message. We want you to want to be there and to love to work with those kids and love to work with those moms and to create those moments. Now, here's kind of a little analysis. When are those moments? Well, they're sometimes before the service when a parent comes in, and that can be kind of a hectic time because you got a lot of people kind of coming in, dropping their kids off. They can be after the service when the parents are picking them up, and maybe you hang around and there's a little bit less pressure. And sometimes we have parents that stick around in the nursery and talk to the workers for a long time. They can be actually during the service, and we have found that this happens. And we have kind of like told our moms that, like, if a mom comes in with a crying baby and they've left the service and they've come in, or they come to check on their baby and they saw them crying, they want to sit with them. Wow, what an opportunity. Obviously, they're not in the service where the preaching of the Bible is, but they are there with a good born-again believer that has the power of God on their life. And we believe that nursery workers can have the power of God on their life the same way the guy that stands behind the pulpit can. And you can have an impact on their life during the church service. And we tell our workers, if you get that opportunity, I mean, sure, there's going to be a little talk about, the weather and teething and babies and sickness and, all that kind of stuff. But if you get that opportunity to get into a meaningful conversation, into something spiritual, is wonderful. Sometimes the meaningful conversations have to do more with disciplining children and raising kids and teething and, how moms are handling it all. And if you, as a veteran mom, or as a worker, can be with them and pray with them and just be support to them, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. There can also be meaningful conversations at times other than the church service times. And this is where we recommend that there's a kind of a mom's day out at the park, and you kind of, meet at the park with the kids, or have the nursery babies, have a special event over at the park sometime, and you sit down, talk, or do something special. But kind of be ready there to do that. You also might work or find that you are with a mom in another venue, and it's like you sit together because you know each other, because you both held that baby, and some great conversation can happen there. Okay, it's the idea of, and here's what we have in our notes here too, this idea of what is important to a mom is important to us, and we want to really do that. So workers, you need to kind of keep all that in mind. Now, what does that look like? Let me put these up for you on the screen so you can see this. Number one is that workers are aware of the start times and the finish times and the priorities. So they know when they're supposed to be there ahead of time, and it really kind of goes into this, the number two one here, the idea of a strong pre-time and what we call hang time, which is afterwards, that those are really powerful moments that you can have that. So workers are aware of those kind of things. That's a powerful thing, that your workers are there early and they're ready. In fact, when these values, they start to drive things. I'll get to that in just a second. But make sure that everyone's aware of what those priorities are, that you can have during the service discussions. That's a fine thing. And then also something that workers can do that really looks like, if you're really trying to support the moms and love them, is the idea of handing out little things to them. If you took a verse and wrote it on I got a little card here. You write a little verse on a card. I thought about you, and you sent the verse, or you text them a verse, something along that line. Little idea sheets that you found about teething or whatever it happens to be. If you can encourage moms in that way, that is some powerful, powerful stuff. So do all those things. Now, what does it not look like? This is very important, and this is part of, if you're a nursery worker leader, you can do this in your training. It doesn't look like there's tension amongst, in other words, there's no tension in your workers, or the workers are not distracted. This is the reason that we don't want workers having their phones in the nursery in their pocket or in their hand or whatever. We can have them there for emergency purposes. But the smartphones kind of go away because if someone's on the phone going, playing with their games and all that, and a parent walks in and the kids are playing on the floor and the worker's playing on the phone in the corner, doesn't look good, okay? That's not a meaningful conversation, relationships there. Nor should there be tension amongst the workers, and those things have to be settled through just having active spiritual relations. It also doesn't look like what we call instant dismissal. In our children's program and our nursery, they know that parents will be talking to the pastor after the service. There'll be some good discussion. We really value the after-service hang time, so they don't just turn the kids loose or walk out of the nursery and go, here, if you hand that baby back to a mom right away, she's going to I got to get home and feed the kid, or they're crying. we want the workers to hold that child and keep that nursery open as a longer time and be ready. And sometimes that requires a different staffing situation, because some of the nursery workers might need to meet with other people after church for different things, but you can have some other people that can be in there and hang out longer with the kids. And so there's some staffing ways to think that through, but that's because your value determines how you staff and how you build your schedule. It's not the hurry up and shut down and flick the lights off and we're out of here kind of thing. We don't ever do that at our church. Meaningful conversations don't happen while someone's flicking the lights and trying to chase you out of the place. And it also is this, if people don't know their proper assignments or whatever, it is not a good thing for them. They need to know what their duties are, what they're supposed to do. All of that is super, super important. So all of that is part of this idea of having the win. That's why your church, your nursery needs to be safe and secure and sanitized. And we're going to cover some of that in our next training thing. But this is what it looks like and what it doesn't look like. So I want you to just kind of keep these things in mind. You need to have a win for your nursery. And yours might vary a little bit from what ours is. But please make sure that you're teaching this and regularly people know this, because that will help them to do the right thing, and they're not off doing their own thing and they're going their direction and their direction. Everybody knows what is important in the nursery. So thanks for joining us here for number 2. If you missed number 1, it deals with the 6 expectations of a nursery worker. You ought to be able to click on one of the boxes here and be able to go back to that, or one of the links and go back to that, and then you'll be able to click on the next one to take you to our number 3 training here. So thank you so much for being with us here at reachkeep.com. Oh, I forgot to tell you, if this is good, you need to share this, okay? Share this with another worker, or take the YouTube button here. You can paste the address and send it to somebody else. But the people on your team need to have this type of thing. This is very important training to be sharing. And please, of course, subscribe if you like these type of things. So again, Mike here, reachkeep.com.